My name is Perry Gosso, and I'm with the St. Vincent de Paul Society here in Tillsonburg.
My name is Dianne Clark, and I'm with the Helping Hand Food Bank.
My name is Lieutenant Drew Young. I'm with the Salvation Army.
My name is Mary Jane Phillips, and I am with Cycles of Life for Supportive Transitional Living.
Okay, I'll start off. Okay, I'm the Vice President of the St. Vincent de Paul Society here in Tillsonburg. I've been with them since my retirement in 2009. Our founder was Frederick Ozanam and Friends, and that was in the year 1833, just prior to Salvation Army opening up in, I think it was 1865. And then they took things to a different level. So the group that Frederick Ozanam put together went under the guidance and training of nuns, another place in society where women weren't recognized, and they took control of and teaching of the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and then they placed another nun over top of that society after they were done. Annually, we across Canada, we assist approximately 400,000 people yearly. This particular chapter has over 500 active people that we service. We consider support for a variety of issues, mainly for food. We give very generous portions for those that need it. Clothing, shelter, household bills, sometimes transportation. Every case is taken on its own merits. Although we may pay for this person, we may not pay for that person because of different influences. Those decisions are made by a committee of people. So when you call for service and it involves money, I write a little story about your situation. I forward it to a committee of people who decide whether to help or not and how much to help for, or how can we help. We also provide a dinner once a month at the church that's attended by around 80 people. Hopefully we'll get back to serving dinner once a month like we used to prior to COVID, or once a week I should say. Our mission statement is to live the gospel message by serving Christ in the poor with love, respect, justice, and joy. I would think that that's enough. If there's questions afterwards, I can get into more.
I have a story to tell you. It's something for you to think about. What if you were a single parent with a child? You work full-time for $14 an hour, and you bring home roughly $800 per paycheck bi-weekly. Your bills are $1,000 a month for rent, $150 a month electrical, $250 a month for car payment, $150 for car insurance. So let's do the math. You bring home about $1,600 a month, and your bills average $1,550, give or take. You're making it, but barely. This doesn't include groceries, internet, cable, cell phone, etc., nor does it include your child tax credit or child support. Now, it's a really cold December and you get a power bill for $600. How do you pay that? Put it simply, you don't, because you can't. So then the power gets shut off. So what does your lease say? It says you get evicted if your utilities are terminated. It says now you're in court crying to a judge who doesn't care, and you have 10 days to get out of your home. Well, you're in luck because you're found somewhere within 3 days to spare, and it's only $650 a month. But to get in, you must pass a background and credit check, which you can't because you just got evicted. You've never been a criminal, but even if you could pass it, you're looking at $1,300 to move in after paying a deposit and first and last month's rent. Time's up. The landlord shows up at 7 a.m. with the police and changes your locks, and so now you're living in your car with your 7-year-old son and everything you need to get by. You try to get a storage unit, but you don't have a billing address, so they won't rent you one. So you can only take what you can fit in the back seat of your car. You pay to shower at a local truck stop and eat whatever you can be cooked in a gas station microwave. Someone sees you and your son living like this and they call Children's Aid. And guess what? They remove your child from your care. If this isn't devastating enough, you lose your job too, because an employee losing their child reflects poorly on their company. So now you apply for an apartment within the region where the waiting list is 3 to 7 years. So you go into Walmart to get an application, and when you get back to your car, you see that your back window has been smashed and someone has helped themselves to all your belongings. Remember, it's December, and it's really cold out. Now you have damage to your only shelter. You call your car insurance, who says your deductible is $1,000, and they're going to increase your monthly rate since you're now a high risk. You call the homeless shelter as a last resort, but all the beds are full. I'm going to stop there because I think you probably get the point. The people that we work with every day are these people. We are the people. We're all so close to homelessness and we don't even realize it. All it takes is one unexpected bill, one fender bender, one layoff, one house fire. And so we're here not to talk down on those who are homeless or those who need assistance or why they don't seem to be grateful for what they have. We're talking about how we can be kind and humble. One of the things that the Helping Hand Food Bank that we have tried to do in the last little while is to institute a thought process of trying to give hope. We want to be able to provide hope for anyone who comes to our door. So we provide different food services. We provide for those who may have some place to live. We provide for those who are homeless as well. When we look at being part of the community, we are so grateful for those who help us help others. And so on Wednesday afternoons, we have appointments for those who need food, who are experiencing food insecurity. Because we're a member of Food Bank Canada, one of the things is that we are regulated as to how the people can come and get assistance from us. And so we have to ask them for their sources of income. We have to ask them for their bills. We have to ask how many people live in their residence and what their home address is. And from that, it's all inputted into a program that's provided for us by Food Bank Canada. And then that tells us how much they can get help from us and how often. But we don't just stop there. We have what we call care bags. Care bags are special bags for those who are homeless, those who maybe are not part of our system and it's their first appointment and we can't squeeze them into the appointments, so we give them this bag. Plus we'll give them a little bit more. We also provide support for children and teens, because a lot of times those are kids who may be part of our system or maybe not be part of the system because mom and dad just haven't thought about asking for help. And so we take to their homes, because we've heard about them, food, so they have a little bit of food to get them through the weekends, because during the school week, several of our schools here in town are now providing hot lunches and hot breakfasts for kids. We have started a brand new program for the teenagers, because we realize that the teenagers, while they're at high school at Glendale or whatever school they're going to, often get left out. And so we've been trying to take care of some of their personal needs, such as hygiene products, as well as food. We also have home delivery for those who need to have home delivery, and there's a process for all of it that we have to see whether people qualify or not. One of the things that we also like to remind people is that when we receive from you, we are trying as much as possible to be very good stewards of the monies and of the food donations that you give to us. And so we're accountable. We have ways to show you how and what we process and where the money goes to and where the food goes to as well. And so that's a little bit about the food bank. I do have brochures that you can help yourselves to at the end. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to have an opportunity to speak here today. So I want to give you a little bit of context for the Salvation Army. So much to what Perry shared with us already was Salvation Army. It was established in actually London, England in 1865. And so here in Canada, and specifically Tillsonburg, we started back in 1885. So we've been part of the Salvation Army, has been part of Tillsonburg probably from I would suggest the beginning. And we've coming up to actually our 140th anniversary next year. I also just want to share our mission and vision statements as well. And so our mission is to exist, to share the love of Jesus Christ, meet human needs, and to be a transforming influence in the communities of our world. Part of that is that in Canada, we're a part of 400 different communities across Canada. That's from BC all the way to Newfoundland and all the way up into the territories, as well as Bermuda is part of our catchment area. And the Salvation Army is also in 134 countries, being the newest one being Bulgaria, just opened up this year. Coming kind of back into our focus, why we're here today, being Tillsonburg, our vision is to be an innovative partner, mobilized to share the hope where there's hardship, build communities that are just and know the love of Jesus Christ. So we are a Christian institution, we are a Christian group. And so that is always the forefront of our mind as well. That being said, we do not discriminate against religious orientation, sexual orientation, or anything. It's if you need help, we are here to help. And so I do have some stats and different things like that that I'll get to in a moment. But some of the services that we provide is also a food pantry, which is approximately about 30 pounds of non-perishable goods, and then if we have milk, if we have eggs, if we have the more perishable things, then we add on to that as well. We do an emergency shelter aspect, I would say, so it's not something that we heavily emphasize on. That's more in partnership with the county, and then the program that is over at the Avondale Church that runs during the cold months. We try to funnel our clients that way if they're needing emergency shelter. We also provide household items through the thrift store, clothing, medical support with different prescriptions. If you're coming up to find that you need a prescription and your coverage doesn't cover it, we will come alongside you where we can. A LEAP program, which is your hydro and gas. Crisis intervention, this is kind of more of a nuanced aspect. So if someone's coming in and either they're having a really bad case of coming down off of drugs, and they're just needing to talk to somebody, we kind of create a space for that where we're safe and try to talk them down and get them the help that they need. We have a breakfast club, or sorry, not breakfast, a birthday club, where if your child is coming up to a birthday and you don't have the funds to provide the cake, the toys, the trappings of a birthday, then you can come and say, hey, this is my child, I need some help, and we'll kind of put a package together for that. I think the Salvation Army is most well known for its Christmas time. You'll see us around almost in every grocery store, and it feels like we're following around into every store with a kettle asking for funds. And so that's our one time that we really go into the community and ask for funds. That supports fully back into what we call community and family services. That's the offices where we do all of this from. And to kind of give us some note on that, out of every dollar, 94 cents of that dollar stays here. We only take a 6 cents overhead for our administration cost. So that's just the only thing that kind of leaves this area. We also partner in with emergency disaster services. So we're part of the emergency response team in Tillsonburg. So I'm trying to think back to the most recent one that I've been here for was the fire up on Lisgar. We support the emergency service providers. So we make sure that they're taken care of. And then I believe Red Cross makes sure that the people affected are taken care of on that end. We also participate in emergency food bags. So we're finding that there are many transient community members, and so when they're trying to find that food for that day or for something of that nature, we have pre-done up emergency food bags that they can take, which are also available in the thrift store, so that once our offices are closed, they can come in, take emergency food bag, and make sure that they have something while the offices are closed. And then kind of in a holistic approach, we also provide spiritual care. So it's an old Salvation Army saying is soup, soul, and salvation. So it's those soup being that physical need, soap being that mental, make sure that you're put together, and salvation being your spiritual care. I just want to touch a little bit on some of our stats. Year to date, we have served 100, and so this is January to present, 110 households, which is 241 new people have come into our office. 54 of those are 18 and older. 125 are pre-existing clients that we see on a regular basis. 86 of those numbers are 18 and under, and 155 are the remainder over. And so to kind of give a snapshot even of this past month, we serviced 28 under 18 individuals, 75 who were over, which was a total of 100 people, which was 52 households, kind of breaking down that into those kind of aspects as well. I do have our huge amount of Christmas stuff, so I'm going to kind of just highlight that because I don't want to spend so much time with numbers. Numbers aren't always tangible, but to kind of hit the highlights, right? We helped 835 people this past Christmas, which was 263 households. 325 were adults, 132 were teens, 378 were children. The food hamper cost, if we didn't get donations, would have cost us $45,360. We provided gift cards, which was 7,425. Toys, which if we didn't get them donated, would have been 64,875, which would have been a whole cost to do Christmas, which was 117,660. Because of Tillsonburg being an amazingly community-oriented and minded community, we only had to pay for the gift cards. So out of that 117, we only spent the $7,000. And then we were also able to raise this past year $171,151.25. So that mostly stays here, right? So 6 cents to each dollar goes up to head office for administration cost. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I do know we were asked to also provide volunteer opportunities, so once we get to that point of the discussion, I'll mention that as well, but I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Drew. Mary Jane Phillips with Cycles of Life, and I was asked to come to give an input on what our organization does. We are a nonprofit charity organization. We are an Oxford County organization. So if anything is donated from Woodstock, let's say it comes down here to Tillsonburg to our warehouse, it's gone over, and if it's needed here in Tillsonburg, it's given out then. If it's needed back in Woodstock, it's taken there to be given. Our mission statement is to empower at-risk people in our community to make positive life choices that will enable them to maximize their personal potential. We run a community outreach table 3 days a week in Woodstock from 1 to 3 in the parking lot of College Ave United Church. Operation Sharing runs out of the church and we run out of the parking lot. They have some of their clients that will come to us because they are homeless to get the little package of food or clean clothing or hygiene products that we give absolutely free, no questions asked. You don't have to give an address, you don't have to give a social insurance number. It's if you self-identify that you need a little bit of assistance, you can come to our table and get what we have. We run a table in Ingersoll on Tuesdays in the Masonic Hall, 1 to 3. And again, anybody can come. Here in Tillsonburg, we were graciously given space at the upper deck to run on Thursdays from 11 till 1. McLaughlin's very nicely gave us warehouse space here in Tillsonburg. Without donations like that, I don't think any of the organizations here could do what we do without your support. For Tillsonburg, with our table, our year runs from November 1st to October 31st. So for the year 22-23, we had 2,900 visits to the Tillsonburg table. but we also help people that come to the warehouse, like different churches, individuals, and the grand total for that was 5,709 visits that we helped people. We also get validated by the people who come to our tables, and I'd like to read one of them, and it's called Relief. One particular wrote November 11th, 2022, Happy Remembrance Day. Dear Tim, it is always a relief to see you when I come by. Relief that you are alive and well. Relief that I will be treated with respect and kindness. Relief that I will leave feeling cared about. Relief that I will be welcomed and not need feel so ashamed, embarrassed, and poor. You see, Tim, what you give us not only nourishes our bellies, what you give us nourishes our souls, our mind, our brain, our mental health, our entire being. Thank you for making me feel like someone actually cares. You always give with so much sincerity and kindness. No judgment, just sincerely want to help us. Thank you for the light you provide on our dark days when we can enjoy the puddings, yogurt, fruit, and treats, even desserts sometime. It is a luxury. I know in my heart that God will help us, and someday I will be able to repay you. You have no idea what your impact is on us, on our well-being, our self-esteem, our feeling. And so I just want to say that when I went back to school, and one of the projects I had to do was to find a gap in services in Oxford County, I went for the housing aspect of it. The other co-founder, he went for abused men. There was only one abused men shelter in Canada at that time. When I did the housing, it was a 1 to 3 year waiting list. I know someone who just last year got an apartment, and they had been on the waiting list for 11 years. So Cycles of Life runs this program, the outreach tables. It's just one aspect. We are working in the background for a shelter, a 5-stage housing program. We want to build an addiction resource place for Oxford County members to come and get clean. I think that's about all I have to say.
Well, I was going to say, before we go into questions, I know, Drew, you mentioned you wanted to talk a little bit about volunteer opportunities. If you guys happen to have any volunteer opportunities, I'm sure people might be interested in hearing about those.
We have volunteer opportunities.
So do we.
We're always looking for people to especially get involved in taking of phone calls from people. That's how we are activated, is they call us through St. Mary's Catholic Church here in town, and I'm activated by an email message. And I tap into that email message and listen to the story. I call the person, I get the personal side of things, and then I transfer that to the committee of people. So we're always looking for people to get involved in that end of the aspect. Right now there are 2 of us. So we go on 2-week stints. I'll take the calls for 2 weeks, and then Ann Stanchuk, my boss, I call her Mother Teresa. She's probably the kindest person I know. She'll take it for 2 weeks, and we rotate throughout the year. So at the end of a year, you're pretty tired taking calls, but it doesn't matter to me. I'll do it 24/7, 7 days a week, because there's a real need for it.
We at the food bank are limited on how many people we can have in the food bank at any one point in time with our volunteers. And part of the problem is that the majority of our volunteers happen to be seniors. And part of it is that under the health board restrictions, we have to keep ourselves limited as to how many people can be there because we need to keep ourselves healthy. It's not just a COVID aspect anymore. It has to do with other things that can affect seniors who are volunteering far more readily than a younger generation can, such as shingles, such as measles, such as the cold bug, such as the flu bug. And if we have a wide variety of our volunteers who are ill, that would mean that the food bank would be shut down. And at any point in time, if we were to shut down, that potentially puts over 95 families a week without food. So we have to keep ourselves healthy. We do have currently a team of 50 volunteers who are on a schedule. They're rotated. We're only open on Tuesday mornings, Wednesdays, and Thursday mornings. And so we don't have a lot of time, to provide for volunteers. We do take volunteers' names, and we have a volunteer process where it's a 3-stage process in order for somebody to become a volunteer. And so we look for volunteers. We just don't want to be overwhelmed.
For sure. So our volunteerism is currently being redeveloped as we're positioning to actually open up and do some more engagement with the community. But right now, there's kind of, I would say, really 3 aspects to volunteerism that we have available. There's always going to be the thrift store. I kind of want to talk a little bit about that in that often people see the Salvation Army thrift store and it's another business that just goes into a corporate pot, it doesn't stay here. That's not the case at all. Our Salvation Army thrift store provides funds back into what we do in the CFS, the Community Family Services, and the church as a greater whole. And so anytime you shop there, that's actually supporting the Community Family Services through a different avenue. And so that is always open to volunteers. We're always looking for people to help us sort the clothing, sort the different various donations that we get in and put them back out onto the floor and just make sure that the system runs. So the thrift store is always an option as well. I would say that you would have to contact Danny Lucas, who's the thrift store manager, if you're looking to do that kind of volunteerism. If you're looking to do the more social-minded volunteerism that we're talking about today, that would be with myself and Shannon at the Community Family Services office. And so what that looks like can be stocking our food shelves, helping with food drop-offs, whether that's a food campaign that comes up. Kettles every year. I'm sure for people who are familiar with the Salvation Army kettles, every year we're desperate to look for people to stand on kettles because that's where we get our operating budget from. So if no one's on a kettle, we don't make money and we can't operate to the full extent. There's different kind of programs that go both church and community family services together. So what's coming up this August would be like our camp time. So something that would be very easy to do would be essentially a 2-day volunteer where one day you're just driving up with the families who are going to camp, which is up at Jackson's Point Salvation Army Camp, which is up by Lake Simcoe. So it's literally just to be another adult on with the kids because you have to have so many adults with some number of kids. You essentially get to spend the majority of the day with them going up. You get lunch, kind of stuff like that, come back, and then it's just the pickup after to bring them back into Tillsonburg. So it's a very much just like a one-time thing like that. As we are getting ready to relaunch sort of a different aspect, we'll be posting on our Facebook when to look for volunteer information day, some training, and what that looks like. So I would just say to stay tuned onto our Salvation Army Facebook page for that kind of newer launch that we're very close to engaging in.
Thank you. We're always looking for volunteers. We get hot meal donated like pizza, so we need someone to go and pick that up. There is cleaning at the warehouse, there's fridge cleaning, floor mopping, working at the table, sorting clothes. We have people that are willing to wash and mend the clothes so that it is clean and ready when it goes out. So, and I did bring some volunteer applications if anybody is interested in volunteering with us. As I say, there's the 3 tables, so if you want to volunteer in Woodstock, you can fill out an application. I am the volunteer coordinator. That is one of my hats, so we can have a good conversation and see if you're a good fit for us and if we're a good fit with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, what we can do is we will open it up to any questions anyone may have or any comments anyone may have for any of our panelists.
Do you guys offer any employment like services, like as in do you help people find employment? Like, do you know local businesses or local business owners that are seeking for employees and they come to you, come look for people that may need a job?
Yeah, so the Salvation Army does have that as a program that we're doing actually currently. So every Wednesday now in the morning, so I'm going to say from 9 to noon, we have the MSC, Multi-Service Center. Yeah, Multi-Service Center comes in. They take up an office, and so if a client comes in and says, hey, I need help with resume creation, finding a job, everything essentially that worker does at the Multi-Service Center, she brings with her, and she's available every Wednesday morning to assist a client if that's something that they're looking to participate in.
2 years ago at the food bank, one of the things that we decided to institute as far as trying to create hope was opening up our doors to ask outside service groups to come and be with us on Wednesday afternoons. And so we now have a team of 5 different people who are there. We have one person who represents Oxford County Mental Health. We have one person who is a PSW or the nurse practitioner. We also have a social worker. And we also have Employment Canada come. And recently we have the library system with Ox on the Run come to us. Because of having the Employment Canada come to us, last year, 27 of our clients got jobs and no longer need our services. We started to do that because we saw with COVID that there were too many people who were coming to us, not just homeless people, it was anybody who was coming to us. We're really feeling lost and out of despair because they were not able to access those people, those 5 different areas, because of the restrictions that were being put on people. We found that some of our clients were not even able to see their social worker. So April of 2023, they were being cut off of social assistance because of COVID restrictions. So having their social worker outside meant that all of a sudden they're seeing face-to-face for the first time their social worker in months to be able to get themselves reinstituted for some of that. To have some of the mental health people there who they were not able to see to be able to have discussions with meant that they could see them outside an office in a different way. For Employment Canada to have them come, for us was a really huge thing, and it was for me one of the personal things was to go over to the Multi-Service Center, and I was startled to see, because of Service Canada, the security guard with a gun at the door, and I thought, oh, how intimidating. I would not want to have to go over there to go for anything if there's somebody greeting me at the door who all of a sudden is showing me a gun. And so we felt it was very important. So we're very happy to have them there. You know, it's a good joining up because of having the Salvation Army on Wednesday mornings, having somebody. So we're also equally on Wednesday afternoons. We're hoping that we're hitting a fair number of people together type of thing, so that people are seeing a need. With the Ox on the Run, one of the things that we're hoping is that people are realizing that maybe they should rely on other things besides their cell phones. That maybe reading a book is a good way of expanding things. And so it's been really good to have that vehicle come, because they can now also get on board onto the bus. They can see everything that's provided for them at the library, so they're encouraged to look elsewhere. And, you know, anything that we can do to provide hope. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
In terms of the shelter being provided during the winter months, what other, like how do you expand that through the summer? And specifically for something like a shower or
open on a daily basis, and the doors are wide open. There is a need, a real need for clothes, hygiene. I'll give you 2 stories. I got called out one night by my partner, Ann, dealing with a homeless woman who had been beaten up severely. And we found her down by the food bank. She was malnourished, dehydrated, and I said, before we go anywhere, I said, you're gonna get some water and a protein bar. And I ran over to the church, unlocked the church, got the stuff, brought it over to her. I said, eat this, drink this. And I can't drink it. Why can't you drink it? Drink it. You need it. I can't drink it. I haven't drank for 2 days. Why not? Because I can't pee anywhere. Nobody will let me pee anywhere. And I'm not peeing in public. As recently as March 7th, I'm downtown and I find one of our homeless people changing her socks in the building. I approach her, I say, everything okay? You need some food? What do you need? No, I'm okay. And then I finally recognize who it is. Hey, how are you doing? Yak, yak, yak. Well, Perry, I was also here to have a pee. I said, what, you're locked out? She goes, everywhere. So, the town is addressing homelessness to some degree. Perhaps a toilet downtown, a Johnny on the spot, put in a spot that they would like it. That could help, right? I mean, we're talking women that want to clean up and they can't do it. That's pretty sad, actually, right?
So also too, I would say the Salvation Army does have an aspect to that. So I kind of alluded to that a little bit in sort of the services we provided, which was a form of emergency sheltering. So when we get a phone call from a client saying, hey, I'm homeless, I have nowhere to stay tonight, and I need assistance, there are a few parameters that we do have to go through for that program, because we do have a partnership with the County of Oxford for funds for emergency sheltering. So we have the ability to have upwards of 3 nights. Often the process that we do if a client comes to us is we give them between 1 and 2, and then we hold back 1 just in case, because sometimes they only need the 2, and then if there's that last day that they just need, then they have it. So the reason why it's 3 is because that's for the entire year is the amount of money that they give us. And so we have to be very diligent to make sure that we don't spend it all in the first half and then have nothing for the end. We are in, I would say, very close partnership with the Avondale program. I'm spacing on the program's name at the moment. The Inn, thank you. So during the winter months, we often do funnel our clients there, but sometimes it's full, or if various other circumstances, they need help. So we do also have the ability to, this isn't very popular, but we do have the option to bring them back up to Woodstock, because that's the county's sheltering location. So we do provide the transportation back there. It's not trying to ship our problem somewhere else, it's that is where there is a warm bed for them to stay. There's also Salvation Army back up there, which is often where they come back into the community when they are ready to come back. There is also partnership with the OPP, where if there's a person that needs sheltering, they get put up, we, through the county, cover that stay. So there is a partnership there. I find it's a little bit hard to describe the nuances of that program, because it's very dependent upon each person's circumstances. Because some people, I would say, are chronically homeless, and so 3 nights is not going to help them. So when we're looking at the best way to help as much people as we can, and effectively, is this going to be helpful? Sometimes there is a rest and recoupment night that we'll do, right? So if the person's having a really bad mental health day or week, essentially, and they're like, I just need a warm bed, I need a shower, I need somewhere to be safe. We're like, for sure, we'll put you up, get you that rest, and still work with you. It's not a put you up and leave you alone and have a nice day, a little mini vacation. It's come back and we'll try to get you set up with services so that you're starting to work on the process of becoming housed. That's something that we do that way. The showering and washroom issue you raised. People are more than welcome to come up to our offices and use the facilities. I do know that is a bit of a problem. So if you're not aware of where our offices are, I should have said that as well, is above the thrift store. 20 flights of stairs is not helpful for everyone. It's sometimes a challenge for me every morning to get up for office, and I would like to think I'm a very able-bodied person. And so going up and down those stairs, even with the 30 pounds of food, is a challenge. We are addressing that. That is part of our relaunching and looking at how to better service our community. So there is going to be a future point where we're ground level, washrooms are always going to be accessible, and we are looking into the showering issue. That is something that is getting closely, possibly resolved in a form. So that's kind of on the horizon. I don't have specific details other than we are looking at fixing that issue at a portion.
Are there any other questions?
I was just going to make a quick comment that one of the things for all of us, because we see and we hear a lot of things, as far as anybody who needs any kind of assistance, there are a lot of times, a lot of things behind when it comes to setting up different places for people to live. There are aspects that are hard to understand. Why can't this be done? Why can't this be done? And the reality is that when we're thinking about shelters for people to live in, you're looking at taking a multitude of people who have never ever lived together with other people. So it's more than just, say, a bunch of kids at summer camp who come from other families. You know, when you're taking people who, first off, don't know each other, who may have their own mental health issues, they may have their own drug issues, they may have no issues at all besides being homeless. All of a sudden you're being put into a space where you don't know the other people. Everybody has your own individual, if you think about your own individual daily habits, of when you get up in the morning, you know, what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning? What's the first thing you know, do you brush your teeth? Do you go to the bathroom? Do you get dressed, etc.? But when you're living with different people having to share space, it becomes a real overall health issue to have that space created in such a way that everybody can cooperate and get along and keep that space clean, because not everybody understands how to keep things clean. Everybody has their own idea of how clean something is. And so it's really difficult to first off set up a homeless shelter. It's not an easy factor because you're trying to take not just a building, but you're trying to take human beings and you're trying to treat them with some kind of dignity. One of the things for us at the food bank, 2 years ago, we had an organization that provides different things for places like Haiti. And they came to us and said, we have these kits that are left over from Haiti. Can you take them? And they're plastic pails, very strong plastic pails that are probably about this big. They're filled with enough food in it to provide for a family of 4 food for 3 months. Now these pails also have toilet paper and other things in it. But the idea is that the pail is so strong and sturdy, it could be used to keep the food in, or, as we've done with some of our homeless people, giving it to them as their own toilet facility, where they can take that pail and use it outside as a toilet facility and then, you know, dispose of whatever. That becomes another issue. How do you dispose of what's in the toilet? Type of thing. So, you know, it's a real basic need. When we think about the fact that for my parents' generation, they had an outhouse. All of us have indoor plumbing. But when you're homeless, what do you have? You have to rely on the goodness and the nature of other humans to be able to take care of your bodily functions. And if you were denied access to a bathroom, what do you do? And I think that comes down to a real harsh reality of, you know, not just providing a bed, not just providing food, but we have to provide a little bit more.
Yeah, just on the housing topic, I guess. So my name is Andrew Tucker. I support vulnerable people in our community. Is there any conversations or is there any organizations that are liaisoning maybe at a different level for support and it's not to downplay everything that you do, and you provide valuable support to our community, but I mean, the fundamental issue is housing. And a shelter isn't a house, right? It's temporary, it's, that's not a home, right? And I'm not, I don't have all the answers by any means, but is there, the town should be involved, and maybe the province or even the federal government at that sort of level. And maybe you're more aware than I am of any sort of conversations happening along those lines, but I mean, we're not the only community in southwestern Ontario that is struggling with this, with a homeless issue or with a housing issue, not a homeless issue. Tiny houses come to mind, right? And I know that there's been tiny house communities, but the problem is they make a tiny house community and it's all the homeless people, and it becomes that's not going to work. That's fundamentally that's been a flawed model, right? And I know that they're supposed to be building, when they build new subdivisions, they're supposed to be building, geared to income housing or housing that's more affordable. But at the end of the day, that doesn't happen. The builders just go to council and get the zoning changed, and they build the same homes in the entire, you see it nonstop in Tillsonburg, right? So I mean, I think for it to be for the issue to be solved, it needs to be, I guess when I was coming here, I was expecting to see a representative from town council. I was expecting to see sort of a representative, and maybe that was the last panel that was done on this sort of topic. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm kind of ranting now. But it's fundamentally like this. I think we have to recognize as a country that this is a problem, or at least it's a province, and there is a solution. I mean, we build houses every day. We have tons of lumber. There's not there's not a resource problem. There's another problem, right? And I don't know.
There's a lot of background information and areas that are going on that the public doesn't see. Like for Cycles of Life, we are talking to prominent members out in the community. They want to help, but there's only certain steps that you can do at a time that it will come.
Absolutely, right?
It will come.
Involved from bylaws, right? So if you can fast track that process of permits, right? Like, I don't know, yeah.
But you also got to have the community buy in, I'll say, to what you're trying to do, because a lot of people don't want this in their backyard. There is an issue there. Yes, they agree it needs to be done, but not in my backyard. So you need to have a place where it's acceptable and it's available, services are available to them, that you're not so far away. So I just want to let you know that Cycles of Life is working in the background on trying to do what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I would also add onto that too, it's not my agency, it would be United Way, and so I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I do know that recently, as of last year, I believe, if I have my timeline, my time sense has gone out the window, has established a house in town. They kind of kept it a little bit on the down low just to give it its privacy that it's due, so that the people aren't kind of like fish-bolted and watched by the town.
Right.
And it has essentially a 364-day program where when you go into it, by the end of that program, you are housed, you are stable, you are good to go.
The lighthouse, right?
Yes, thank you, the lighthouse. So there is at least that first initial step. I believe I've heard some inklings from various other partners wanting to continue on and further develop that program. I don't, again, want to speak out of turn.
So that's the Oxford County Community Health Network, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So to kind of say to everyone, right, that there are steps being taken. I find often there's a large period of time where there's unfortunately a lot of talking, and talking is not helpful. Trust me, I've been there on the other side where it's just like, let's stop talking, let's start doing. I think the unique thing about Tillsonburg is that our community is very much at that point where we're wanting something. So I think that hurdle is kind of gone over, but it's also now the not in my backyard little bit aspect there. So it's what agencies are able to partner into, where are we going to do it, and then just kind of launching off of there. So that
the theory behind the new subdivision being built with some geared income housing is that it's not in someone's backyard, it's in everybody's backyard.
Yes.
It's just part of the subdivision deciding factor, right?
For sure.
But I mean, then the town needs to honor that as well.
Yeah.
Right? They not to not give amendments to that bylaw benefits or amendments
For sure.
Right? Like, I mean, it's, you know, we can talk a lot, but we also do a lot of things actively that, you know, it's against that.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's a conversation that we would have to have with town council.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, no, I know.
yeah.
I was gonna say, there is an Oxford County Housing Action Collaborative. Stephanie Ellens-Clark, who is the Director of Social Planning Council Oxford, she was one of the panelists at the last session, and she sits on that collaborative, but it's a number of organizations. I'm pretty sure Oxford County Community Health is represented, United Way is represented, but it's organizations who are really coming together to talk about and address the fact that housing is such an issue and there's such a financial gap for a lot of people to access housing. I know, as was said by the panelists, people waiting 11 years.
Yeah, but you're doing that because housing is not a solution. At least not in our area. I mean, it is, if you got 7 years, or 11 in that case, but I mean, most people don't, right? Thank you anyways.
One of the things for housing that we have found at the food bank, and it's been very disheartening, is the number of newer clients who are coming to us, who they are still employed, but they can't make ends meet, or people who have been moving into Tillsonburg because they've been told Tillsonburg is a good place to live. And there are people who are renting a single bedroom in a house, and there's 20 people who are living in that house because the landlord has bought it with that purposes of renting out bedrooms. And so it gets very disheartening when you're finding, you know, a family of 6 living in one bedroom because they can't afford anything else. But they're paying $2,500 rent. And then on top of that rent, they're also paying another $1,500 for a storage unit. We had a family last week who came from Kitchener-Waterloo who they thought they had rented the whole entire house to only discover that they were just renting a bedroom. And because they had arrived from Kitchener-Waterloo and they hadn't paid the moving company took their furniture back to Kitchener-Waterloo. And then the landlord hands them a notice to say, oh, I've sold this house, you have 1 month to vacate. And it's like, and they came to us and said, what do? We gave them first and last month rent, and we're in one room. Our furniture's in Kitchener-Waterloo. We're stuck. And it's like, you know, I then have to send them off to both of these agencies to say, see if they can help you. You know, when we're tied as well.
I'm just wondering, you were talking, Mary Jane, about housing in Woodstock or Ingersoll, the 5-stage levels of housing.
Yes.
What are the 5 stages that you've got that you're offering to?
Every stage is geared to an individual, how they manage to go through different steps, different programs, and each step that they, I'll say, graduate from, then they are moved up the ladder, let's say. For the stage 1, 2, and 3, you are in a type of a community living. There's a community area, your bedrooms are off from it, it's a community washroom area. But then once you reach stage 4, you get your own apartment space. And stage 5 is you're paying all your utilities, you're paying rent up to stage 4, but then stage 5, it's rent, utilities, your own food. So you're living on your own, and hopefully our time frame will give that person an opportunity to go maybe do a 2-year college course, knowing that they have a roof over their head and they've got food. They can take a bag, lunch bag with them going to school, so that at the end of their 2-year college course, then they can get a job and save up for that first and last month's rent, and then give them wings and fly.
That's in Woodstock?
That's where the majority of the services are, but that does not mean that we won't have satellite areas.
And that's going now?
We're in the process of talks. email writing to the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of Health, Social Services.
Can I actually do get replies? When you can?
Well, I'm just starting to do that,
And then
so.
the other point, when you've asked or pleaded for assistance from the government agencies.
Okay, local agencies, we're getting a lot of collaboration going together. Right now, there is a group called Seniors in Crisis, Food Crisis. So there's that agency there, well, it's not an agency, it's run by an individual, but then there's the Senior Center, and then there is United Way was at the meeting with us. So there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle to put together, so. Actual written notice, no. It's all verbal that I'm getting right at the moment. Pardon?
I mean, you're about 5 years away from actually getting down to it, right?
I hope not. I really hope not.
We have a problem in this town, big time.
Yeah.
I'd like to do, why can't we put a porta potty downtown, so at least these people have a place to go to the washroom?
Well, like Dean says, they're open during the day, right? It's at nighttime where you find the same lady I talked about at the church, right? I picked her up, put her into my van, picked her up, put her into bed, covered her up, and she was out like a light. 2 days later, I go back to see her, totally different person. I say, man, you look really great. It's amazing what security and sleep will do for you, Perry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's sad, and it's getting progressively worse.
Oh, yeah. And getting a response from people is difficult, and
Well, it's hard because you don't really know, as a community member, you don't know what you should be doing or you shouldn't be doing.
there's a fear,
It's like,
right?
is it being helpful? Is it not being helpful? I
Yeah.
see people ODing in front of my house. I dial 911 because I don't know if I'm capable of dealing with this person, and nobody responds. No ambulance, no police, no nothing.
Well, you gotta call them.
Phone me back if you lose sight of them. That's what I got.
Yeah.
I was so angry.
Well, okay, on the other hand, 2 nights ago, I did CPR until the ambulance came. All right. on
Well, at
an
least they
overdose.
came.
They did come,
Did
but we had
better
to
than I
call
did.
them, right? We had to call them and say what's happening, but, I mean, if they're up walking around stoned, I mean, you can go to any city and look at the zombies walking around, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had 2 within 2 weeks
Yeah.
around my house, and I mean, I get it, people have drug problems, and I mean, it's a problem.
It's an issue, right?
And it's an issue, and they need help. So, like I said, I'm a senior citizen, I don't know what to do with this person. I don't have naloxone, nor will I. But there's people out there that you're supposed to be able to call to get help. Police, fire, or ambulance. Well, I'm thinking ambulance, but maybe police, I don't know. Well, can't you go out there and deal with it? Not my job. I'm phoning you, I'm a senior citizen. Well, call me back if you lose sight of them.
Unfortunately, they.
So I lost sight of them.
They could
Phone
be on
them,
an emergency.
Phone
trying
them
to
back.
save somebody else, who knows what.
phone them back, and told them that I had lost sight. We told them which direction the person went in, and then went and checked my security camera to see if anybody ever responded, and they didn't. Yeah, no kidding, it's too bad. There's a lot of stuff going on around here. And like I said, I don't know, like, all this chopping down of trees on the walking paths and all that, what's that all about in this town? That was, I would like to know the answer to that question. That's why I was kind of with him. I was hoping there was going to be somebody here from council or something. Because I get the
You can
impression.
call the town and ask them.
I
right?
could.
Yeah.
It's just, I've gotten the impression over time that this is, we don't want the homeless people camping here, so we're gonna chop down all the trees so they can't. Is that what we're doing? 'Cause
Don't
then we're
think
just-
so.
Because then we're just moving the problem, aren't we?
I don't think they're doing that.
Really?
I worked for this town for since 1984 until 2009, and they never did anything surreptitiously like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's good to know.
yeah.
I just find it strange that there's been trees all along this for a very long time, and now there's none.
If somebody was interested in getting involved, not necessarily with time, but more, what's more beneficial? Would it be cash? Is it actual food? Is it time? I mean, that's always valuable, but is it better to donate the actual food or bring you cash or?
I think the person asked for that, like, we like cash. Our agency operates totally on donations, right? So we get cash and then we make decisions. Fortunately, Dianne here runs the food bank, and she's right beside us, and Dianne and I have known each other since '84. So we have a good personal connection, but she's now right next door to me. So when they're closed, people are supposed to call us. They'll also go to the Salvation Army, but that's part of the directive of the food bank, is when we're not open, call St. Vincent de Paul. They're also very generous. She runs an unbelievably well-organized food bank, extremely generous. I just say it's really well-run. And we're extremely lucky to get donations from them to keep us running when they're closed. But we also buy certain products. Just some products because she has to buy them. We don't expect that, but she does get donations from Food Canada and stuff, and she's very generous. So we spread that wealth around the food, and then we also have money to back us up. Yeah, Chris.
Is there a list of phone numbers from who to call first, who to call second?
Yeah.
Who to call third?
Yeah, I've got actually I have one with me right now that I devised back then. It was basically gives you the food number, the food bank, St. Vincent de Paul, Salvation Army, when all the dinners are in town, you know, how to get to them.
Could I get that?
I even had a little map drawn at one time that basically had the mall, and everything, all free items are basically within a block of the mall, so it's easy to navigate.
Is that available?
Great, you want a copy?
Could I have a copy?
Yeah, you sure can.
I was going to say the Oxford County Community Health Center sends out to a lot of organizations a monthly where can you access food calendar. We put them at the library, so if you want, you can pop into the library and it
Not on
has
Facebook,
outreach.
not on any social media.
Nope, so it's not on social media. You
I
can
stay
come
on
and get it.
everything. Yeah, that's the devil. Sorry.
Yeah, also just want to comment on your question about cash. I would say the Salvation Army too, it's maybe not a great answer, but it's yes and. So if, particularly at Christmas time, cash is best because that does our full purview, right? So that does everything from food
Helping Hand.
down to your shelter stays to really the drop in, I have a need, are you able to help? And then we kind of see if we're able to help, right? So that's kind of that wider catchment umbrella of that. There are different times when we do food drives as well. So I do know that we partner with Crossroad Ministries, which is the church down on Concession. They do a fall food drive. And so they do a little list that we give them, and they give you a little bag, you pick it, right? And they do that for us. So there's different moments where you can partner in on that. I would always just say, just make sure that if you're doing food, we would prefer to buy it recently, because often generous people who give, we will always take. Sometimes people give us highly expired food, and so we have to then discard it, which is not always helpful. I think you run into the same problem. I think everyone runs into that problem, right? So the give not looking at the date, and sometimes we have to obviously terminate it because we're not going to give out expired food. Just the dignity and health aspect of that. So if you're going to donate food, I would maybe suggest phoning it first and just saying, where's your greatest need? So when we come up after summertime into September, we tend to be looking for more snack foods because that supplies the families with the kids with snacks. Even summertime, right? Kids are back home. Now you have 3, 4, however many size your family is, little children who just devour food constantly. That puts a strain on the finances, right? So then we supply that as an aid as well. So it kind of just maybe, I would say just maybe as a touch point, just say, hey, it's coming up to a different season. Is there a food need or is there a cash need? And then that would be my suggestion.
Whereas for cycles, cash is better, because then we can go out and we can buy what is needed. We were just given a great big cash donation, and I went and bought $1,000 worth of meat so that we could give it out. It doesn't take long to add up to $1,000.
Well, I was going to say, I know some of our panelists do have to return to work. So maybe we can wrap up now. I know some of the panelists said that if you have any questions or want to speak to them, you can quickly afterward. But right now, why don't we just give everyone a round of applause. We really appreciate
Cycles is looking for board members if you're interested.